I am about to throw everything into my business dreams at the risk of losing everything. I am using a throwaway account to share this again after being screened for low karma. I am 20 years old and currently attending college, and man, it has been quite an experience. To explain myself properly, here's a brief life story. Grab some popcorn because I feel a bit overwhelmed and insecure, and I want to vent a little. This desire has been a dream of mine since I was 12. My local library had a 3D printer, and I spent countless weeks there experimenting with it and creating various projects. As embarrassing as it may seem, I can vividly recall organizing a Fortnite tournament at the library, 12 years old and already ambitious, and was close to pulling it off until the computer graphics on the library's computers put a stop to my plans. From that point on, throughout middle school and my 5 years at a private military high school in Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, I kept pursuing lofty and ambitious dreams in the creative realm. It all began with Rec Room. I hosted community events during quarantine and started a YouTube channel. I managed to build a community fan base and held numerous events and giveaways. I received a great deal of praise, recognition in public gaming lobbies, and developed a solid reputation within the small RecTuber community. Eventually, everything fell apart when I tried to organize a laser tag tournament in the game. It did not go well, and I learned that my reputation as an event organizer had deteriorated in a matter of hours. No events that followed could compare to what I had previously accomplished, and my community slowly dissipated. I shifted my attention to Minecraft. I started my own server, which attracted a few members from around the internet. One of them eventually became my girlfriend, and we were together for a while. We were both young. Real success didn't come until much later. I eventually received invitations to participate in large Minecraft YouTube content servers and took part in various events and panels. Then, I formed a partnership with a server sponsor, who later got into a disagreement with another YouTuber. I ended up being the mediator between them, only to discover that the other YouTuber was pretty popular. Suddenly, the invitations dried up. So I redirected my focus to my own events again, and they quickly gained momentum. I conducted many events, tournaments, and streams, earning the nickname the Events Guy. Some went smoothly while others did not, but people always seemed to have fun. A few even supported me through donations or subscriptions. Over time, I broke up with my girlfriend and met my current partner, who I hope will soon become my fiancé. Our families present a tricky situation. She is studying accounting in a dorm while I live in an apartment. We cherish each other deeply and spend nearly every day together, approaching 3 years in our relationship. That said, my father has threatened to cut off my rent support if he learns that we are living together. We are not, but the threat lingers. I'm not worried you'll do something incredibly foolish in college. Well, except for maybe that girl. I am committed to this woman. I want to make this work. The rent for my apartment is extremely high, and even with my job, I know I can't pay it. I hope to move out at the end of this semester to a more affordable place, allowing me to focus on my business. However, my father has yet to meet her, and I have been making persistent efforts to arrange a meeting and pray to God that it goes well before the semester concludes, hoping to gain their approval to live with her. However, she has student loan debt, which I know will weigh on me for a long time. I am willing to work through it with her. She will also find a job. I am currently a sophomore in college. During my time at the university, I worked as a graphic designer in the Welcome Center. They chose to bring me on by chance. My portfolio consisted of a PDF featuring my logos from YouTube events and commissions for other YouTubers, and began to train me. The problem was, I already knew everything. I had familiarized myself with all the software for YouTube, as well as teamwork from the military academy. They were impressed with my continuous ambition. Eventually, they asked me to redesign the Welcome Center's evergreen signs. I completed the task in a couple of days, earning praise for my exceptional and swift work. Often, I found myself leaving early because I had efficiently worked through the tasks with high-quality results. Only on a couple of occasions was a project sent back to me with a request for a complete redo. Not that I am implying changes were not frequently made. I am neither a genius nor a prodigy, and corporate branding does have strict guidelines. The logo cannot be obstructed, even by a single white pixel of snow. Please revise. They shifted their focus to training me and revising my resume, but that was cut short when I was accepted into Disney. I participated in the Disney College program. I was utterly shocked by my experience in the vending industry. The work was challenging, particularly since I have mild hypermobility joint disorder, and I often found myself feeling unwell. I was ultimately terminated due to attendance issues. I truly miss Disney. The parks were beautiful, the people were amazing, and by all accounts, the free Disney tickets were fantastic. I visited all the parks at every opportunity. It was remarkable. I was awed by the technology, security, and inner workings of Disney. Afterward, I felt incredibly frustrated. I knew I was capable of more, but working until 4 a.m. for the third consecutive night was too much for me, especially while juggling online college simultaneously. This experience made me contemplate how I might not enjoy a corporate path. I always envisioned going through college, obtaining an entrepreneurship degree, working in corporate for a while, and then ultimately launching my own business. However, this experience filled me with self-doubt. The corporate atmosphere at Disney was starkly emotionless and empty, a feeling that has lingered with me. Meanwhile, college felt entirely pointless. Prior to Disney, I was pursuing a media arts degree intending to start a graphic design commission business. Yet, the classes consisted of material I had either previously learned or been taught. This continued into my second semester. In my sophomore year, during my first year living independently after 7 years in dorm life, I experienced a breakdown fueled by insecurity about my future. The thought of not having a secure future and meaningful goals was unbearable. I felt like a complete failure compared to what I was supposed to achieve. I descended into a profound depression. I acquired an adorable cat named Machai, and at times I can barely afford her insurance and food. However, she has brought so much life and joy into my world. One night I panicked, thinking I lost her. I thought she slipped through my door. In a frenzy, I posted in the apartment forums asking if anyone had seen her. For some reason, my father checked that board and informed my mother, who, along with him, was extremely furious with me. I received a harsh phone call while in the bathroom, with my father berating me for wasting my time and demanding that I get it together. He said if college was not the right fit for me, that was fine, but insisted I needed to get my act together and not waste their money on my tuition. I felt at a loss. My fears about my parents punishing me had been realized, and I was terrified. I fell deeper into despair. A couple of weeks later, I experienced a complete breakdown. I had a hallucination, or perhaps I passed out and I encountered a clone of myself, forcing me into a sea of blankets, as I had curled up in bed and shoved me back into the military academy. The panic I felt returned. I loathed that place. It's a different story. If this post is well received, I might share it, but I might not, and it instilled in me permanent anxiety. I revisited all the crucial stages of my life up to that moment, and finally broke the surface, finding myself back in my bed. I sat up and told myself I needed a change. At that time, my girlfriend was still in Kentucky, preparing for college. I made the decision to explore starting a business in the 3D printing field. I believe if you told my 12-year-old self what I would be doing today, he would be in shock. I often ranted to my family about it. My parents hadn't fully supported my YouTube and online career. I will freely admit I grew up with a severe internet addiction. However, the opportunities it has presented to me today have made it worthwhile. Ultimately, my mother suggested I share my plans with my grandfather. So I did. He is a man I deeply admire, second only to my father. He listened carefully, a rarity among my family, and even asked questions that pushed my knowledge out of its comfort zone. Sometimes his inquiries stressed me a bit, as I did not know the immediate answers. I loved it. Eventually, my 20th birthday approached, and we visited their home for dinner. I dozed off on the sofa and woke up to find a letter beside my head. As you can guess, when I returned home, I opened it. It contained a note with a clip "Dream Big, Champ." Inside was $500 in cash. This was the exact price I had told him a few months prior for a 3D printer. I showed my mother and cried for a moment. She advised me not to mess it up, and I promised I wouldn't. Combined with $300 from my savings, a gift from my grandmother, I purchased a Bumbu P1P. I printed various items and joined the 3D printing club, absorbing knowledge about the field like a sponge. Eventually, I decided to conclude my YouTube career. The only things keeping me tethered to the internet were my girlfriend and my last Minecraft events series on YouTube. Around that time, my girlfriend moved into the dorm and has spent almost every day with me since then. We could not be happier. However, as time passed, finances continued to dwindle. I began drawing from savings to keep my checking account funded but eventually ran dry. My mother has been incredibly generous, frequently sending me money for food and other essentials. As I may have mentioned earlier regarding my father, they also cover my rent. Yet the rent is high. It is a small apartment, but it offers nice amenities and great staff. We began to struggle, and consequently, so did my motivation. I started skipping classes, completely lacking the drive to attend. My 3D printer sat idle. After submitting 60 job applications over several months, I finally secured a student job in customer support. I excel at it, and it occupies my time now, but it does not cover rent. I wanted to start thinking about my business, but everyone I consulted advised me similarly on each idea I proposed. But the thing is, it's not unique. You need something original that stands out. I quickly learned the importance of identifying a market gap. My entire focus shifted toward market gap research. I could not establish a business without a unique product or service. There was no way I would be discovered or stand out in this age of relentless competition for attention and engagement. As I wrapped up my final Minecraft event on YouTube, a member created a card game inspired by the server's members reminiscent of Magic, the Gathering. I found it amusing. Essentially, it consisted of renamed pieces of paper in Minecraft that they distributed with Happy Meals that they sold for diamonds, and each card had a different rarity. Then it struck me. A sudden realization unfolded. I proposed to 3D print the trading cards. It was an unconventional concept. Cards had not typically been intended for 3D printing. I framed it more as a collectible for the event rather than strictly a game, though it could be played as such. I launched a survey, and a remarkable 94% expressed they would be willing to purchase a card. Thus, I initiated a fundraiser targeting 60 to cover the filaments for a proof-of-concept card, demonstrating we could achieve it. The fundraiser swiftly raised 250. I cannot divulge all the specifics of my business plans, but I diligently worked to expand and refine this idea. I meticulously ironed out every detail, and after a few days of relentless planning, I found myself developing a genuinely feasible and unique concept for a profitable printing business. I shared it with a brutally honest friend of mine. He often reminds me of his honesty. He stated, "I'll remain cautiously optimistic, but this is wild." He wagered I would not even be able to design the proof-of-concept card. I presented it to more friends. The responses ranged from, "Wait, this is really impressive," to "This is so cool, I would absolutely buy that." And even usually, "Your ideas are just okay, but this is actually good." A backhanded compliment for sure. One of my friends online offered to assist me every step of the journey, and he has supported me through tough times as a loyal friend for years. Within my business plan, I designated him as the co-creative lead. He preferred a more unique title than simply marketing and community manager. As I continued developing and researching, applying my college knowledge, my dream grew closer to reality. My grandfather's note resonated in my mind every day. "Dream big, champ." Utilizing my girlfriend's artistic talent, we successfully created the concept card. We have yet to print it, as we are still waiting on the fundraiser funds, but it will happen soon. We do need the AMS, and I plan to use my paycheck to help cover that cost. I am determined, whatever it takes, to get this done. I am prepared to submit our company name for reservation under an LLC, and we are about to genuinely acquire a business employer identification number and commence this endeavor. However, I am terrified. My father is so eager for me to complete college. I share that desire too. I would likely continue with a hybrid of online and in-person classes, but if this endeavor actually succeeds and unfolds as planned, I may have to transition fully online. My parents currently face financial difficulties, and every time I ask my mother for grocery money, I feel awful, even though they have reassured me they would always be there to help if I truly needed it. My father is insistent that I wait until I obtain my degree, but considering how rapidly the industry is evolving, especially in printing, I am desperate to act while the iron is hot. I have a deeply rooted feeling that if I do not pursue this opportunity, someone else will. Or worse yet, another problem may arise, blocking my progress for several additional years. People are enthusiastic about the card, and I shared my finalized business plan with close friends. My brutally honest friend remarked, "This is exceptionally cool." I asked him if he thought it was a solid idea, and he replied it would only work if I was genuinely serious about it. I yearned to tell my grandfather, "I did it." My plan is ambitious, but I truly believe deep down that if anyone can make this a reality, it is the 12-year-old version of me. I have access to numerous resources at my college, and I intend to leverage them extensively along with the connections I have. Yet, I remain paralyzed by the fear of failure. I recognize this could lead to me walking home with my belongings after never achieving profitability. I think I have come to terms with that as a risk. I realize my parents would take me back in, just as they have claimed, but I am terrified of their judgment. I plan to discuss everything with them soon, despite my father previously cornering me to explain that I was not yet ready. But now, I find myself in the position with the opportunity I have fought to attain since I was 12 years old, and I don't think I would ever forgive myself if I gave up now. I would have to search for a new place to live. I absolutely must do this correctly. I cannot afford to fail. I have invested countless hours researching and preparing to ensure this venture operates as smoothly as possible. However, I can still retreat. I have not yet passed the point of no return. As I stand at the threshold of this risky opportunity, I ask you, should I step forward or step back? Thank you for taking the time to read this. I will likely respond to some questions. Story 2. I fell for Kay, A's twin. We connected deeply, but Aita's disapproval loomed. After a heartbreak, I question if love is worth the chaos. This is a throwaway account, and I will endeavor to maintain anonymity. I am a 28-year-old gay male who became entangled with twins, both 24 years old. Let's call them A and K. This is quite lengthy, so I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read it. It's a complicated situation. My friend remarked that this resembles a telenovela. I initially met on Grindr 4 years ago. We connected immediately due to our shared background, the same religion, which is uncommon in the gay community, and nearly the same ethnicity as he is of mixed heritage, as well as the fact that we attended the same school in our youth, though I was 3 years older. He eventually found me in one of the yearbooks. We started spending time together, shared a kiss, and I believed there was a potential spark, but after a few more hangouts, he suddenly began distancing himself. Our conversation about it did not end well, leading to a falling out. A year later, A and I reconnected and reconciled. One thing led to another, and we expressed a desire to hook up, since there was still some chemistry. I want to emphasize that neither of us sought a romantic relationship with each other upon reconnecting. Unfortunately, we consistently missed each other, and he eventually got a boyfriend, which he informed me about, news that I was glad to hear. Shortly thereafter, he broke up with him, reached out to me, and we ended up fooling around twice. He then got back together with his ex, and their relationship became on and off. During this time, 2 significant events occurred. 1, Kay contacted me through the same gay app. I know, it's wild. So I immediately informed A. A then told Kay to block me and not to communicate with me. 2, A began leading me on, oscillating between expressing interest and pulling away. He felt overwhelmed by his ex and only wanted to maintain a friendship without putting in any effort, while continuing on and off with his ex until the end of 2023 when they finally broke things off. However, A continued to send me mixed signals. This dynamic persisted until the summer of last year. A came out to his father, who reacted poorly, necessitating A's move. He expressed his desire for me once more, and we decided to hook up spontaneously. This would be our 3rd encounter. As I was heading over, I couldn't shake off my anxiety, influenced by my best friend's advice not to go through with it. Well, it got to me, and I couldn't engage. We had agreed to go all the way this time since we had never progressed beyond fooling around. When I couldn't perform, we mutually decided to stop and try again another time. Later, I reached out to him to discuss our situation and my anxiety regarding the back and forth, which had genuinely affected me. He apologized and said he still wanted to meet. However, when I suggested it might be better to simply be friends, He became busy and promised to get back to me. He never did, and just as I was waiting for his response, Kay reached out to me on Grindr again. I assumed that I had informed Kay about me and our history, but perhaps Kay wanted to pursue a friendship. I didn't disclose this to A, and if I'm honest, I was always curious to know more about Kay. Kay and I quickly enjoyed wonderful conversations and developed a bond unlike anything I had experienced before. As Kay and I were getting to know each other, A texted me to inform me that he tested positive for HSV-2. I expressed my sympathy, stated that I would go get tested, even though I knew he hadn't contracted it from me, given that we never went very far in our encounters, and attempted to discuss our situation. He shut me down, stating that the diagnosis had really shaken him up, and he needed to reconsider things. I offered my reassurance and suggested we could be friends, but again, he said he needed time. I decided to step back. Kay and I continued to get along exceptionally well, establishing much common ground. When Kay began to flirt with me, it dawned on me that he didn't know about my past with A, so I explained everything. He apologized, requested that I keep it to myself concerning A, and we agreed to pause our communication for a while. I was also still attempting to resolve things with A, so I was willing to respect that and didn't want to disrespect either or Kay. After receiving my negative test results, I informed and attempted to discuss things again, but once more, he rejected the idea. Eventually, I grew exasperated and recognized that I only wanted a bare minimum friendship with A, so I resolved to pursue a friendship with Kay. Nothing inappropriate between A and me, and nothing inappropriate with Kay. Kay and I resumed our conversations, agreed to meet up, and during our first hangout, we discussed everything imaginable, including my history with A, with details included. We connected beautifully. What was supposed to be a 3-hour meeting turned into 16 hours of talking. We fell asleep in my car after hours of chatting. I felt a profound bond, and he communicated that he felt the same way. We continued to meet up and study together. Throughout this period, I initiated several discussions about the boundaries we needed to maintain to avoid disrespecting or crossing any lines, and he acknowledged this. These conversations were prompted by my constant complaints about back and neck pain, and he would often offer to massage me, which I felt necessitated a boundary conversation as friends. As the semester ramped up, Kay and I went 3 days without texting. When he eventually reached out, the tone of our conversation felt drastically different. It was romantic, yet I worried that I might be reading too much into it. We agreed to hang out again. When I asked him how he felt when we met up, he responded that we were more than good, and I questioned why he asked. I mentioned that our previous conversation about boundaries felt different in tone. He acknowledged this. We both confessed our mutual attraction and feelings for each other. Sitting in his car at a park in the rain, muddy from our walk, it felt as though we had stepped into a romantic movie. We embraced and became lost in the moment, leading to our first kiss. We spent hours cuddling, talking, and kissing until his family started blowing up his phone. When he didn't answer, his phone began to ping incessantly. It was A who had messaged him and even attempted to FaceTime Kay. We acknowledged that I would not approve of our situation, but we both understood the risks involved. Kay and I continued to spend time together, nurturing our romance. As time passed, we discussed our future, and he indicated he would talk to A. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and they had their conversation. A was upset, saying he did not like the situation and did not want me around, especially now that he had a new boyfriend, and I was simply A's past. Stating that if Kay and I were to be intimate, it would feel as if Kay and I had been intimate, which I found utterly ridiculous. He even went so far as to say that I had herpes and did not inform Kay. To clarify, I have HSV-1, a common virus since many have experienced cold sores. I had never even considered mentioning it to Kay because cold sores are so prevalent. I have never had genital herpes, HSV-2, and a misinformed Kay by stating HSV-1 turns into HSV-2, which is false. And Kay had never contracted HSV-1 and had never experienced cold sores. Kay treated me without hostility but relayed that I had shared a lot with him, and he needed some time to process everything. I accepted this. We took a break for a week, and although we never officially defined our relationship, I was under the impression, and still am, that we were exclusive, just not in a committed boyfriend context. Kay reached out after the week apart, and we both expressed that we missed each other, agreeing to continue seeing each other despite being uncertain about our future. During this time, Kay and I had numerous conversations about what we should do, and I expressed that since we had only been romantically involved for 2 months, we should prioritize figuring things out before it's too late, as I was developing feelings of love for him. The ambiguity of our future did not detract from our present connection or emotional investment. He agreed and reassured me that whatever happens, he has a great deal of love for me. Note, this sentiment resurfaced later. We didn't see each other for an extended period as finals approached. We both became incredibly busy, and Kay had a holiday trip with us shortly after finals. Thus, we did not see each other from Thanksgiving week until shortly after Christmas. To be candid, we didn't text for 3 weeks, the longest stretch for us, and given my insecurities, I tend to preemptively distance myself from others, so I felt like I was giving him a chance to walk away without issue. I would have understood if he chose to prioritize his twin, as it's a deep bond. He messaged me just before his holiday trip, and we arranged to meet after his return. When we finally got together, it felt as though nothing had changed, and we still shared a strong connection. After this, in the new year, we hung out again and confessed our love. It was our first time expressing that sentiment, and we both wanted to convey it. When he said he had a lot of love for me, that was his way of saying he loved me without overtly stating it. He mentioned he would talk to us once more, stating that since they never revisited the topic of our relationship after their initial conversation, Kay believed a thought he simply stopped seeing me. I told Kay that if he didn't wish to speak to A, that was fine. I would never ask him to choose between me and his twin. So, if he decided against speaking to A, we could mutually agree to end things, but we could also celebrate our love before doing so. Kay stated he intended to talk to A, but needed to find the right moment. Their extended family had found out about A's sexual orientation, putting him under considerable stress from them and their parents. Kay is only out to their mother, while A faces ostracization from immediate and extended family and relies heavily on Kay for support. I reassured him of my love and encouraged him to take his time. A month and a half passed. The semester began, and Kay enrolled in more classes this term and increased his work hours, which kept him exceptionally busy. We didn't see each other frequently, and although we were texting, it was far from consistent. While we still expressed love for each other, the distance caused me significant anxiety. We didn't celebrate my birthday or Valentine's Day together. He frequently apologized for his busyness, but in one conversation, he admitted feeling guilty for spending time with me, knowing that I was struggling with family issues. The possibility of discovering that Kay and I were still seeing each other would upset him, which would in turn hurt Kay. I empathized and acknowledged that although I are not on good terms, I had no intention of causing him more distress. Moreover, I loved Kay too much to place him in a difficult position. Kay reiterated that I was the best thing that had happened to him, insisting I was not a burden. I replied that we needed to revisit our plans for the future. We met a few nights ago, and I surprised him with his favorite drinks, a slice of ice cream cake from a place he had wanted to visit with me, roses, and 3 Valentine's Day gifts that I had wrapped myself. He began to tear up. Then, I covered his eyes and placed birthday candles on the cake. He had mentioned previously that his family did not celebrate his birthday last year due to the fallout surrounding A's coming out. He cried, stating that no one had ever done anything like this for him, ultimately telling me he loved me. I comforted him and expressed my desire to celebrate our love as I had promised. We delved into a conversation about everything. In the end, we both agreed that he should refrain from discussing us with A. We should separate, even though we were not officially boyfriends, and do whatever causes the least harm. He admitted to feeling anxious that this conversation would take place, but he didn't wish for our relationship to end. We cried together for the first time, professing our love, and though I kept reminding him of the time so he could return home, his parents would not approve of him coming home late, and he needed to rise early the next day. He chose to stay. We spent 10 hours together, reminiscing, eating the cake, enjoying drinks, cuddling, shedding tears, kissing, and after hours of this, we became intimate for the first time. Having previously engaged in physical activities while expressing a desire to wait until we fell in love, this time we went all the way. He left following our cuddling session, with his family bombarding his phone with messages and a face timing him. As he was leaving, we reiterated our love and exchanged kisses. Now, I feel conflicted. I find myself in a difficult position between these twins and question my morals, yet I still deeply love Kay. I yearn for him back but am unwilling to act on it. I feel immense sadness, and I feel guilty for feeling sad since I know we made the right decision. My emotions are all over the place. I have contemplated whether I would change anything if given the chance to go back in time, but both Kay and I agreed that we wouldn't, and we harbor no regrets. I wish this reality weren't so. Reddit, am I the antagonist? P.S. Preemptively addressing anyone who might argue that I should have avoided the twin and chosen someone else. I contend. Romantically, I find compatibility primarily with individuals of the same heritage and beliefs. There is a sense of comfort and security in sharing a common language, upbringing, and culture, eliminating the need to justify my religious views. My experiences dating individuals from different backgrounds have taught me that I value this shared foundation, as it highlighted our incompatibilities. There aren't many gay individuals like me, at least not in my vicinity. Many remain closeted, opting for relationships with women over pursuing romantic connections with men. My interest in Kay did not stem from an inability to have a or because a didn't want me. We genuinely became friends. The love developed organically. Although they are identical twins, they are vastly different, and while I acknowledge their twin connection, they are distinct individuals.